Let's see, not that one. So I don't know if you had a chance to look through any of these documents, but there's a number of test instructions for harnesses. So you have
this all document. I have a quick review this all document.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you're a little bit aware of the general structure then. So basically, we have a document with all of the finished good test methods. 3064 is all of the raw material test methods. 3065 is more of the, more of the sampling and statistical stuff. So if you want to, if we want to know how many samples they're supposed to test, that's all based on what's in here. And then this 3079 document, this one's a little bit separate. So this just controls our test methods for the actual CE test, and those are certification tests. So as a whole, TES 3013, the finished good test methods are going to be completed on a sample set that depends on the total quantity shipped. So that's based on STT 3009 sampling. Raw materials, I think, are a little bit different. We do, I think it's 5 samples per material batch or something. And then CE testing is done on just, each test is just done on one harness per batch. So no sampling or anything. So I can run into, it's hard to tell which of these are actually open. So, and then everything is going to be recorded in this TES 4035 document. So this is the template for all of the batch test data. So that's both raw materials and finished goods will be included separately in this same format. So you can see per shipment we'll have, the quantity of each color, basically all the sizes in there. And then we have the actual traceability where we can connect this back to the raw materials. So basically every finished good should have all of the raw material test results connected to it at that point. And then, see, just record the results in leg loop, waist belt, all of the finished good tests that you're doing. And then there'll be a single one of each of these tests in there as well. So the way we get in here, you should have access to vendor test results already, right?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. So it's just dong in. And I guess just to give you some background. So on the team, Stephanie and I both share harnesses. We're both in charge of harnesses, but she's in charge of all of the harnesses at PolyUnion and Sinyo because she already works with those vendors on webbing and stuff like that. And then I'm in charge of all of the harnesses at Dongyin. So Dongyin, we've been working with on harnesses for much longer than polyunion, and they're a lot better at, I would say, providing us with traceability, because we helped, because they helped us develop that whole test plan and the format and everything, and they've just been doing this for a lot longer than polyunion. So there are some things you might find, like there's some raw material tests they might be doing that aren't even included in the TES form. We've been talking about trying to align some of that documentation for a while, but that's going to be a more long-term continuous improvement type of task, because there's a lot to unpack. But yeah, so in this Dongin folder, it's just all separated by year.
Dongyin, sorry, after that, Dongyin is from China.
Dongyin is in the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and actually, most of what they make for us is backpacks. But there's not a lot of traceability for that, and we have our team on the ground over there, Chris Wee and Miriam, and that are basically our quality representatives at the factory, and they handle all of the backpack and chalk bags inspections and things like that, and they actually do the shipment approval for those. So we only see it if there's issues. And that's on the inspection side. On the testing side, we receive traceability once a month, give or take, about once a month. And it basically is traceability for all of the harnesses that they shipped that month. So it's a little different than with SurfU, where we have them inspect it. We go through all of the traceability and test data before they ship. With Dongyin, a lot of the stuff that we're getting traceability for may have already shipped. So there's a bit more of a trust relationship with Dongyin. They usually will come to us if they have any problems, and a lot of times they're more familiar with the test methods than we are. So really, we just want to look through, make sure they're doing everything correctly. So I can jump into the latest one here. So you can see we have raw material data. This is provided as a single file with, let's see, so their test log numbers are counting upwards, so 601 to 690. So there's 90 test logs in this file. So we can open that up. Start with lots of materials, and that just goes to show how many different harnesses they're making for us, and granted, this is all types of materials. You have the webbings and everything that's structural, that is. So you have all the webbings, tapes, belay loops, bar tack threads, pretty much everything structural that we would have. and buckles as well. But the test method for buckles is you test both the buckle and the webbing at the same time. So you're testing the interaction between the buckle and the webbing. So what I would do here first, so they have this summary tab, right, where they have all of the test logs. These are all the different materials. All the information about it is there, color, size, and then they're testing 5 samples of every one of these materials. It gets a little bit unclear when you get into the actual test logs which tests they're doing. But let's look at this one as an example. So here they're doing the TES 3064 drum test. Drum test is for waist belts, right? And you can see here some of these are empty. Oops. Some of these cells are empty. So they're only putting in waist belt webbing and waist belt buckle. So that's how we know they're testing waist belt webbing.
Yes.
And so basically this is the finished good batch lot that this is going to be used in. And we can see, you know, here's the standard 2698. So what is that? I think that's 12 kilonewtons. And everything is passing. So
yes,
there is, you will notice on some of the materials, some of them have failure modes and some of them are just proofs. In this case, for waist belts, we want to find out what the ultimate strength is, so we have data, right? But we also want to know that the webbing isn't going to slip through the buckle. So what they put in the comments here, this is the amount that the webbing slipped through the buckle. The requirement for buckle slip is just that it has to slip less than 20 millimeters.
20.
So we're well under that, you know. But on some harnesses, we've had issues where, you know, the buckles are too smooth, so the webbing just slips right through it. And you might, and someone sits in the harness, and then the leg loops get bigger, right?
Yes.
And it gets a lot looser, and we don't want that either.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why we're doing both tests to failure and then also proofs. So we do 3 tests to failure and then 2 proofs.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah. So yeah, on those proofs, you just really need to make sure that it went to the right load and that the slip is less than 20 millimeters. With these, we're also calculating 3 sigma. It's important to make sure that they're using the correct formula and they're not including the proofs in the 3 sigma or in the calculation of the mean and the standard deviation. But, you know, it looks like they're doing it correctly. And then the 3 sigma, minimum 3 sigma should be more than the rating. So that's a pass. I don't typically go through every single one of these and check every single thing because there's so many of these materials. It's good to just make sure that they're using, like I said, the correct formulas And then you can basically just on some of them just make sure that everything is passed.
Yes.
You know, I want to make sure that oh, sorry, sorry, I muted you by accident. What was that?
No.
Okay.
Just repeat your information.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so we don't need to. I don't always check every single one, but I look at all the numbers and make sure they're bigger and that everything is passed. And I make sure that these numbers are 20 millimeters. And then I would grab, you know, maybe 10 of these, 10 or 15 of these test logs and look into more depth and look at, are they doing the correct test for that material? Is the size correct? So, for example, this one is bar tack thread. So that's the thread that they use for the bar tacks, where they're putting a lot of stitches in one place. Here, obviously, these are all passing. The failure modes are what we would expect. It should be, if we're testing a bar tack thread, we want to make sure that the thread itself is what's breaking. Otherwise, we don't get good numbers. So tack failure, that's good. All these numbers are above here. Our 3 sigma looks good. And yeah, so everything's passed. That's mostly it for the raw materials. Let's see if we can find some different materials in here. So leg loop webbing for these ones. This one, leg loops, we don't have a proof test. It's just break it to failure. So this is a pretty standard failure mode for that. Web at tie-in, it's basically where you tie into. We're putting both of the leg loops around a 1-inch pin and then pulling on that tie-in point. So it's pretty much always going to break there. Let me just see if there's anything else I need to be communicating up here.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's mostly it for leg loops. I want to find an example here of where they
so I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
That's for test log. Can we find this test log check list check, yeah, through test log find this tester data?
Yeah, so these test logs, so this is Dongin's internal test log data.
Yeah.
So that's why it's TD DI. DI is Dongin.
So Dongin use internal test system.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we want to find the actual data and see, you know, the ramp up curve and exactly how it broke and everything, we would have to request that from Dongin. So we don't. Yeah. So all we're saving is the numbers, the Excel format. But they do retain all of that information. I'm not sure how long they retain it, but if we need to find out more about recent shipments, we can just send them an email. They usually cooperate.
Yes.
So I was looking through here for an example of we maxed out their Instron, but basically, if if the load goes to 6,000 pounds, that's the maximum that they want to subject their Instron machine to. So you'll just see, 6,000 pounds, no failure. Obviously, all of these ones broke correctly, but if you see one that's 6,000, that just means that they stopped the test.
Okay.
And that's pretty common when you're testing leg loops, just because the test method is they're much stronger in that test configuration. We did leg loop. Some of the harnesses will actually have buckles on the leg loops as well. Most harnesses don't, but some of them do. So on some of these, you might just see they use the same format as they do for the waist belts, right? So if there's buckles on the leg loops, we want to be checking those for slip ratings as well. And it's the same requirement, just less than 20 millimeters. So that's okay.
Okay.
Let's see, more leg loops. Leg loop webbings. And yeah, more leg loops. It's a lot of data to go through here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
Yeah, I'm glad you're gonna be able to help out with this.